All right. Hi, everybody. I'm really excited to have
Hello.
Saira Rao and Regina Jackson back for a second Data is Love. This time to talk about their book, which is forthcoming in the fall. That's right. I can't hold up my Kindle and like show my copy of it in the same way. Yeah. So you have a book coming out later this year, and you were really generous with sharing an advance copy with me. It's so good. It's so good. And I just want to start with, well, like you made a documentary about Race to Dinner, and now you've written a book. What's the motivation?
Regina?
I think the motivation is, we're a black and brown women living in black and brown bodies in a society that is extremely racist and in denial about that racism. So, we are trying to get the truth out there and to get people to have radically honest conversations. Stop lying. Stop pretend that you don't know what's going on. Stop and let's sit down and let's talk about it and let's tell the truth.
Yeah, and just further to that, Aparna, that's what we do at every dinner, right? Like that is
Hmm.
the crux, and it's 2 hours. There's no small talk. There's we get right to it. We're in and out because white women love to procrastinate. So, and avoid this conversation. So, for the movie and the book, this is a way for us to actually take our work and make sure it's available for a wider audience. People can see it and actual in the movie. You've seen the movie as well, Aparna. You can actually see a dinner, and the book is actually just an expanded version of the dinner. And so we'll be able to reach more people because it's just the two of us. There are only so many people we can reach dinner by dinner. Um, and sort of the difference is you can pause the movie and walk away. You can throw the book across the room. You can put it down. You can't do that at the dinner. You have to actually sit through the 2 hours. But besides that, it's a pretty accurate, I would say, reflection of what we do.
Hmm. What has the reception been so far? I know for me, reading it, now I've read it twice, and every page is like it's like a mirror. I can see, I can actually visualize these interactions, and I don't know if you remember when we were watching the movie together last year. I was like this the entire time, and that's kind of how I was reading the book as well. Like I was in my bed, like worried that maybe somebody was gonna watch me, and see my
Mhm,
expressions, just kind of like this.
mhm.
What's been the reception? And I'm super curious, like, what's been the reception from like women of color that have been reading the advanced copies, and the white folks that have been reading the advanced copies?
I
Yeah.
think we have two different receptions. Women of color are fascinated, thrilled, excited that we've taken this on and that we are telling the truth. And one of the things I say in the book when we talk about white women at work, there is not one woman of color on the planet who has not experienced white women's nonsense at work. Okay. So I think, and I have to tell you, I'm so excited about meeting Saira because Saira says out loud the things that me and my Black friends talk about and think about. But we've been oppressed for so long that we didn't have the permission to say it out loud. And Saira goes, "Oh, no way. Your ass is racist." Oops.
But that's our duty as the model minority, right? Like that is our
Mm-hmm.
non-black person of color privilege and our duty to do that because we can say things that black people are not allowed to say without getting killed. And white people's
Yeah.
privilege is so massive. So Regina talks about this all the time, white silence. Fuck the white silence. Start speaking up because if you like the world is coming humanity is coming to an end here largely because of white violence and white silence. But to get back to your question, Aparna, about the reception, it's that. I mean, the black and brown reception has been what you said. across the board, and lots of BIPOC folks have read it now. That has been the reception across the board. What I've been sort of pleasantly surprised by, there's been the errant, very high profile white women who have ghosted it. We're supposed to blurb the book, won't do it, have said that this is the most hateful, divisive, triggering thing they've ever read. But, we're getting a lot of, I read it in one sitting. I felt like I was going to throw up the entire time. I read it in one sitting, and I'm going back and I'm rereading it now. Unequivocally, I see myself in every single page of this. I see how I'm racist. Oh my God. I did that. That's not them. That's me. That's the entire purpose of this book. One, for solidarity with, and we dedicate this book to BIPOC women everywhere. Solidarity, and also, why none of you are not Karens. You are all Karens. You are all Karen. So stop saying, oh, that Karen. I walked into a store when I was in Charleston, South Carolina, a couple of weeks ago. And this is not just Charleston. It's New York. It's Denver. It's San Francisco. It's everywhere. And it's this white lady sitting back there in her like pearls and her entire, I can't believe I didn't take pictures of this, Regina, and send it to you. I meant to do it. It's look at that. She has little towels, that say, look at that Karen. Who invited Karen? And I'm like, motherfucker, this is you. But her entire store is not a Karen. And there are white women that are buying this shit for themselves, pretending that they're not that. It's amazing how white women can kick the can. It's just amazing.
Oof. Okay.
I had an experience here recently, and go ahead. I was thinking about this. I'm having a condo redone to put on the market, and it's a luxury building, high-end condo. And I've been sending contractors in there to get work done. And I sent in a Black contractor to do the floor, and he is the only one that they have called me about. The only
but
one.
Of course.
Does he have your permission to go? Yep. Yep.
Yeah. Of course.
Yeah. Regina, you said earlier, right, as we were getting started, you said society is extremely racist and in denial, and we need to have radically honest conversations. And you all write about that in your book. I mean, there's literally a quote that says, so yes, we'll explain to you how you're racist. We'll indulge your feigned ignorance because our lives and our kids' lives and our grandkids' lives depend on your understanding the truth, right? Understanding and acknowledging the truth. And I feel like the overturn of Roe is like one such moment where Black and brown women, but I think especially Black women, have been at the forefront of trying to establish reproductive rights, and white ladies have just been like, yeah, no big deal, right? Like, this doesn't affect me. And now it literally affects all of us. It affects all of us. And I'm just curious, like, what else? Like, what are some of the other things that stand out to the two of you in this moment that like we actually should be maybe talking about out loud?
Gun violence. Okay. So white people are stocking up guns. America actually has more guns than people. Okay. And who is it that's getting murdered in their schools? By white. I'm not going to say they're mentally ill, because I don't think they're mentally ill. I think they're entitled. Something pissed me off, so therefore I'm going to go. Those are little white kids, by and large, that are being killed. So unless white women, come to a decision that white supremacy is killing them and their children, and I think Roe versus Wade was the first big aha, where they really saw my liberation is tied to your liberation. Okay. So if you want your kids to stop dying in school, then you need to get on board and dismantle white supremacy, because that's what's allowing it. There's white guys out there that have whole arsenals and they're not in the military. My plan is you go in to buy a gun, you get drafted, and you get sent to a war zone. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting. So I lived about 30 miles away when Sandy Hook happened. And I remember that, oh my God, this is not just white children. These are blonde hair, blue-eyed babies, rich blonde
Mhm.
hair, blue-eyed babies. These are kindergartners and first graders. And I thought to myself, surely something is going to happen now. Definitely, it's going to end. They're going to just Congress is going to ban guns. It's going to be the end, right? The opposite happened, and we're in this hellscape that we're in right now, right? We know. So, what does that tell you? This feigned ignorance is also feigned hopelessness and helplessness. I don't have any power. That's what white women do. I don't have any power. What is my power? If white women think that they don't have power, they've erased their white power. And that's white supremacy. That's white nationalism. If you think that you don't have power and you're a white person, then you're not doing anything to dismantle what horrible things you're doing. And that tells us everything we need to know. White people care more about keeping the peace, you know,
Mhm.
clothes, having nice
Yeah.
colors on their wall than they do about their own children. That is true. That is a fact. And we know that because of
Mhm,
what has
mhm.
happened to Sandy Hook. So I would even argue the end of Roe versus Wade, which by the way is not like a shock. They've been planning this for decades. Number one,
Mhm.
about it out
Mhm.
loud. And my God, we had this opinion 2 months before it came down. I read the opinion way before it actually came down. And then they are all pretend, oh my God, they're so shocked. What are you talking about? We had the opinion. This whole fake shock is part of it.
Mhm.
White
Mhm.
women don't even care about their babies getting killed. They don't even care. They don't care about anything. Souls have been lost. Their souls are floating around the world in Lululemon and a $30 green juice. That's where the souls have left their body. That's what's happened.
Hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of Lululemon in Seattle as well. Um, I mean, so many thoughts. Like I feel like my brain's like catching up to everything that you all are saying. Um, so one of the things that I want to talk about out loud at the risk of being deplatformed myself is, Saira, a couple of weeks ago, I I posted something on LinkedIn just saying that, like, yeah, I would buy copies of your guys' book for folks that wanted it, and very quickly noticed that that post wasn't showing up in news feeds, right? It wasn't showing up on my page, it wasn't showing up on the business's page. And I think 24 hours later, I got a message from you saying, I've been kicked off of LinkedIn, right? And so this like racism, white women's racism, white supremacy, this isn't just in interpersonal relationships. This is something that's happening
Mhm.
like systemically, right? Like in the platforms that we are invited to use, like where platforms where we're invited to be honest and have conversations and be vulnerable. And I'm just, yeah, I'm like, what, how, why?
Black and brown people can't say white. It's as simple as that. That's an unspoken community guideline. We can't. And it's literally the title of our book is what got me kicked off. The title of our book is what got your post taken off. And so, basically we are lured onto these platforms. We make money for them by being on these platforms, and you build a following. Some people make a whole living off of putting food on the table.
Mm-hmm.
And then the
Yeah.
minute you actually, you get a following and they notice you're using the word white, they kick you off. So they weaponize. So I had to just the anatomy of a scene, if you will. I got kicked off explicitly. They sent me screenshots. I can't wait to publicize the screenshots that they sent me of the offending posts. One was a picture of the Handmaid's Tale, and I just said the Handmaid's Tale is dictionary definition white feminism. So that's one of the, in violation of community guidelines. The other one is I did a post about how white people had to stop hating themselves because white people's
Mm-hmm.
hatred of themselves is what's killing us, right? So those are the two things that were in violation of a community guideline. Did I threaten anyone? Did I call anyone a name? Well, I guess a name is white. White people get hurt when you call them white. Do you know the kind of shit that Regina and I get? like the emails that we get, the amount of direct messages and open comments that we get, they never get taken down. So white people not only can say black and brown, they can say a whole lot. They can say the N-word. They can call me a pocky. They can call us terrorists. They can call me, which I've been called repeatedly, their favorite Muslim cunt, you know, but they have no repercussions. That's not in violation of their community guidelines, but I lose my LinkedIn account, and I'm not alone. I'm one of how many thousands of black and brown
blue-haired unicorn is gone. Blue-haired unicorn has been, yes, I got a invitation and I went to accept it. It said, this can't be accepted now. So I know she's been taken down.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
my
is that Maddie Butler?
98-year-old mother-in-law.
Yeah. It's crazy.
No, yes, that is her. Yes. Yeah. My 98-year-old mother-in-law got kicked off of Facebook, suspended from Facebook for saying white people. 98 years old.
I mean, it's ridiculous.
It's wild ridiculous. Because they have a declining user population. Right. So maybe they should keep the people on it. Yeah, it's I think the deplatforming, and in the deplatforming, right, like leading up to it, I feel like there's a lot of free labor, a lot of free education that happens by Black and brown women that are like responding to comments, that are, you know, I mean, spending hours a day educating folks. And there's a section in your book that I probably went back and read it like 10 times because it was simultaneously funny and cringy. And it's when you break down like how many hundreds of inquiries you got, and then you're like, well, and then these many people scheduled a conversation, and then these many people scheduled a dinner, and then like you start with like hundreds of people that reached out to you, and you end with like 5 dinners that get booked, right?
That's
and
right.
along the way, you're educating people, you're having conversations, they're free, you're not charging for it, obviously. And you talk a lot. I mean, I think that there's a lot around free labor in the book. And there are a couple of things. I mean, there are a couple of notes that I made. I was like, one is the coverage that Race Dinner specifically has gotten. A lot of it's been around how many thousands of dollars it is that white women might pay to be told that they're racist, right? And right at the same time, you're getting hundreds of inquiries, and you are getting a very small amount of business out of it. Like, let's be real, even at $5,000 a plate, if you fielded 300 plus inquiries, that's all of $25,000 in your pocket, right? Like, you've lost money before you went to a single dinner.
A plate. It's $5,000 a dinner.
And it's $5,000.
I'll be right back in 2 minutes. You take it from here, Regina, for 2 minutes.
Okay. Most of what white women do is performative. Most of what they do is performative. It's all about look at me, look at me, look at me. They are raised to compete each other. To compete against each other. They're raised to pretend like they care about things when they really don't. And one of the reasons why we always say they know what's going on is because Jane Elliott, who started, a white woman in all white Iowa with her white second graders, created an exercise called Brown Eyes, Blue Eyes back in the 60s.
That's right.
And one of the questions she would ask people is, all you white people who would trade places with a Black person in this society, please stand up. And when nobody stands up, she says, okay, you know what's going on. So stop pretending you don't.
Yeah. That experiment that she did with her classroom is not only is it famous, but it's something that's in every like textbook, you know, and as someone who trained to be a teacher, I mean, we learn about that experiment, right? Like, and just how quickly they turn, but also how quickly, like how quickly like the bias centers in their brains can activate. So today it's August 4th, and last year, August 3rd, August 4th was Black Women's Equal Pay Day in the United States. And, you know, it's a measure of how many more days a group works to make a dollar, essentially, right? And for Black women, it's always been a year and 7 months. And then this year, it's at the end of September, which, you know, because the discourse has focused so heavily on we are hiring so many, you know, like Black folks, and like here are all of our Black DEI leaders that we've hired. It feels ironic that the wage gap for Black women specifically has increased by like 8 weeks. Now you're working a year and 9 months for every dollar. And where do you all in your work see the free labor happening, like the invisible under the surface free labor happening in workplaces specifically?
I would say everywhere, Aparna, everywhere. You know, like women of color are asked to go above and beyond for everything. I mean, I would ask, I'd challenge these white heads of companies, tell us where it's not. Tell us where it's not. Like, tell us where that this is not happening. And this interview that I just did with NPR is about the Penguin Random House, Simon and Schuster merger that's happening in the Department of Justice.
Yeah, that's right.
For antitrust violation. And the question is, how does this affect BIPOC authors? In every way. Literally in every way. When you have consolidation of white power, that's what it is. When you have consolidation of white power, as Regina always says, Black people are the last to be hired, the first to be fired. So unless this merger actually like goes against time, space, history, there will be layoffs. And when there are layoffs, who's going to get laid off?
So it'll be Black people first. Yeah. All 10 of them that are in the publishing industry will be laid off.
Exactly. And that's what we were saying. I said, our agent's white. Our 2 editors are white. The head of marketing is white. The head of publicity is white. Like everybody is white. I haven't even seen a Black person on any of these calls, and we've had quite a few calls. So it goes from bad. So right now, currently there's a South Asian woman who's like an assistant and a Latina woman who's an assistant. They'll probably be gone. So it goes from bad to horrendous. And that is in every industry. Look at Congress. Look at the courts. I was a law clerk on the Third Circuit. I might have been one of 2 non-white law clerks in the entire building. This is Philadelphia. There are hundreds of us. And my super liberal white woman judge used to refer to me as her Pocky. Okay? Like that's how she referred to me.
No.
So it's everywhere.
No.
Yes. So it's not just money. So because it's the federal government, we ostensibly all got paid the same, which was nothing. Right?
Yeah.
But every day I got to work, and that's what I had to endure. Right? And do it with a smile, because I'm so lucky to have been given this opportunity that I killed myself for. And so it's also not even tangible things that we go through. Microaggressions. You think that's a microaggression? How's that? That's a macro violence.
Yes. Everything we know, and we've always known this, is that we have to be better and work harder to get the same job that a mediocre white man will get. What I do know, Aparna, and I think this is very interesting, is the group leaving corporations at the fastest pace and starting their own businesses are Black women. So, you know, I think Black women are getting fed up with the nonsense, and they're saying, you know what, I can go work for pennies by myself. I can start my own business and start at the bottom and not have to put up with all this white people nonsense. So, you know, it is liberating. And yes, it is work, but we're working hard for somebody else. So why not just work hard for yourself?
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, I have made that choice. Y'all have made that choice as well. It is also, August is also Black Business Awareness Month, right?
Can I just say something?
Okay.
Instead of millions, if not billions of dollars that have been spent since white people discovered systemic racism in the summer of 2020 and subsequently have forgotten it again,
It's
right around
it's
Halloween.
$8 billion.
$8 billion. Okay. Instead of doing DEI work, you know, not all DEI, so Aparna, not you, but like instead of doing DEI work, which is putting lipstick on a pig most of the time, how about this? Take the $8 billion and pay reparations to Black and Indigenous people. How about do that? Like do that in your companies. Like instead of having a bunch of white people sitting around a room with one Black or brown person making them feel horrible, do that. That would be good. Decolonize your freaking space. But like this DEI nonsense is such a white racket. It is such a white racket.
It is
and if
a racket.
I were a company, I would and they call us grifters, by the way. The same people running DEI are calling Regina.
Yeah, we've been called grifters.
Yeah. It's one big grift.
As my mother used to say, they'll call you anything but the son of God. I don't care.
Yeah. It's just
I definitely have some feelings about the state of DE&I in this country. And Regina, I've heard you say so many times from like, I think the very first time we met like 3 years ago, that DEI is not anti-racism work, right? It is not anti-racism work. And there is a whole section in your book where you walk through a phone call with like a progressive, super liberal white woman who's like, I want to do this, right? And you say, and you offer her some feedback, some guidance, and she has a bit of an explosion, right? Like, I imagine one of
so racist. Maybe we wouldn't be so racist if you were nicer. Quote.
Yeah.
Direct quote.
Direct quote.
And you're toned. And you're toned.
Yeah.
Your tone is awful. You know,
when we got off the phone with her, she actually sent me a direct message over LinkedIn. Can we just agree to disagree? I so respect your work. And I was like, you want me to agree to disagree with you, it being okay for you to be racist to me and Regina? No, I won't agree to disagree. No. They love saying that too. Let's agree to disagree. No, not on that.
Mm-hmm. No. Yeah, I think this is a very common experience, especially for Black and brown, you know, like equity folks, right? Like folks that are doing equity work is being invited to talk about DEI, but not use the words race or racism. Certainly there's this idea that, you know,
or white people.
White people. And like there's this, and I've heard this from so many progressive women that they'll say, you know, like, how can you expect us to get along if what it feels like is you're blaming us? And in your book, you say the minute Black and brown women were honest with her about the problematic way in which she was envisioning DEI work, she lost her entire mind. We were not nice, we were mean, and you deserved her racism. And what really sticks out to me in like who is part of these conversations, who is sending in inquiries, who wants to do a race to dinner, is a lot of highly educated liberal white women, like the women that wore the Hillary t-shirts, right? 8 years ago, they were like out campaigning for Hillary. And they really don't see themselves as problematic. And so like, how do we even move forward when it's the people that like should be in our camp, you know, like people who should be, we are not talking about like evangelical white Christians that are protesting outside Planned Parenthood. We're talking about folks that are raising hundreds of millions of dollars, that are like running successful businesses, that have the Black Lives Matter yard sign. If they are not willing, how do we move forward?
You know, Dr. King said years ago, that the biggest problem for Blacks in America is white liberals, because they would rather have order than equality. So, you know, that's nothing new. That's a real old, and things haven't changed that much. One of the things that I think about when I think about DEI, we can make this real simple. Your pay, okay, is tied to your hiring and maintaining Black and brown people. You don't do that, you don't get X amount of dollars. That's how you make it work. It's that simple.
Yeah. And you know what, Aparna? I mean, it's been interesting. So I moved from Denver back to my hometown of Richmond recently. And the biggest thing is it's amazing how many more Asian folks and Black people are here, right? But today I
Yeah.
was in this morning and there are lots of this gym I go to there are a lot of Black people and South Asian people, and a white guy walked in with a "Let's Go Brandon" sweatshirt, right? Just walked in,
Oh,
felt
my
really
God.
felt none of us said anything, right? Because we can't. Imagine if I walked in, right, with a essentially the equivalent would be "fuck white people." Like if I walked in and said "fuck white people," I would not only get stares, I would be probably killed. Like literally, with how many of those guys have guns in there? And that's essentially the difference. This is the difference in this country is white people can say and do anything and we can't. And we have to say please and thank you when they don't kill us. We have to say please and thank you when they pay us for our work. That's what it's. We are like guests in their home, even though they stole everything. They enslaved Africans. They committed genocide of indigenous people and took their land. Then they imported people like us to do all their scut work. Like that's literally what this is. And I am tired of it. And I don't know how everybody else isn't, including white people, because there's a whole, let's just be clear. When they have a whole white nation, when we're all dead, when we've been extinguished, right? Those are going to have Hunger Games amongst themselves, right? You think that they're to be like, oh, it's just us now. It's just us in the room now. Let's just be super kind to each other and sing Kumbaya and eat pad thai together. These white people are going to kill each other. And so I don't know how they don't. You are not awake now. What's wrong with you?
I would have had to say something to the man in the gym. You know me. I had to say something.
I'm not effing with the guns anymore. They are allowed to pack guns anywhere they go. And just like your daughter said to you, like, I'm not here to die today over this. I mean, we're doing a lot of stuff, but it just, and it was amazing to watch because I looked around and I was watching, there's two South Asian guys. I was standing here, two South Asian guys here and two Black guys right here. And he walked literally menacingly, like right through us. And everybody just did this, you know, like, and I was like, but we can't say anything unless you're ready to get shot there. And I don't want to die in this stupid ass gym in the strip mall in Richmond. It's just not the right place. It's going to, but it's just amazing. And I don't know how white people can tolerate it anymore. I really don't. I mean, I don't know how you can live with yourself. I just don't know how you can live with yourself.
Well, one of the things that when you say that, Saira, I think about is, there's this terrible fear of the awful, scary, boogie Black man, okay? But it's literally the white men who are killing everybody because they can, because they very seldom have repercussions. They can do whatever they want.
So the white women are calling the white men to come kill Black people. And the white women can do it, and the white men can do it. Amy Cooper, who tried to get Christian Cooper killed, right? You'll remember that in Central Park. She's like, she should be in jail. That was like attempted murder, basically. Right? She should be in jail. She's off somewhere in Chicago, reinventing herself. And by the way, suing people, suing me. I think she even tried to sue him, like suing the entitlement, because she's entitled to do whatever she wants.
Well, and the police are their protector. I would love to see us pass, and I think Colorado is a liberal enough place to do that. Denver, I should say, not Colorado, Denver, to pass a law when you make a 911 call that's not an emergency, you're charged with a fucking misdemeanor. I would love to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, Saira, there was little video going around a couple of weeks ago, and I think I shared it with you, where a bunch of little kids, white kids, had called the cops, and and ordered McDonald's, right? Like they called 911, they ordered McDonald's, and the police officer actually dropped off a bunch of Happy Meals for these
Oh
two
my
little
God.
boys. And it was, I'm watching that and I'm like, how? Because I think that, yeah, if it had been little Black kids,
Tamir Rice. Yeah. It's a
right?
disgrace. And I think I'm just past all this
Yeah.
DEI, sincerely, if you can't tell. Like, it is
It's
the year
nonsense.
2022. It is nonsense, and it's pathetic, and people should be ashamed. Companies should be ashamed. Companies should be ashamed that they're setting aside money for this violence. Seriously.
Well, I think that, you know, one of the conversations that happens in like DE&I spaces, and it's been happening for a very long time, right, is if you do it, you will save money. It's presented as a financial argument that, look, you retain people longer. Of course, hiring is expensive. You save those dollars. And last year I was working with a white woman that I'm just going to say is, you know, like, it's kind of as good as it gets in terms of like having a great ally. And she paid like a really severe consequence for it as well. I said, hey, like, can't we make an argument that this 150% churn in this big part of the company is kind of expensive, right? And she said, she literally, she looked at me and she said, you know what, like, they've actually just actualized the cost of racism, homophobia, sexism. They've internalized it, right? Like, it's almost like a fixed expense. They're willing to pay it. And I think similarly, police departments, their budgets to make settlements just get bigger and bigger and bigger every year. And that's the cost, right? Like, that's the cost of allowing for racism to happen. And I think in both instances, who's really paying for it is all of us. It's our money.
Yep.
It's our money.
It is. It's our money.
Yep.
I know when I call the city and county of Denver for anything, I always say, this is my money. This is what I need from you.
Yeah.
You're using my money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Your book is coming out in November. I and many others have offered to buy lots of copies for anybody that wants to read them. Many people have very generously Venmoed me cash to continue buying copies. Right.
That's amazing.
Lots of white folks. We don't, it's like guilt money maybe. But I've taken it. I'm just taking their money and I'm like putting in the book orders. So I'm going to continue doing that. How else do we support you? And like, and in kind of a very leading way, you know, how should companies be using your book? Like, how should they be using it, you know, like handing it out? Who should they be giving them to? What's your dream for this book in workplaces?
Well, one of the things we have done with the book is a book club question list. So I think it's very important for corporations to have their groups of employees to work through those questions, come up with answers, discussion. One of the things we know is things change through conversation and through community. So, you know, corporations may want to create some communities for employees to be engaged in anti-racism work. That's a big deal, because when you have a community, it keeps you honest. It keeps you on point. It keeps you committed.
And I have a challenge. Anyone who listens to this, who works at a company or a university or a nonprofit, this is the cheapest DEI thing you can do. This is a $16 book. Buy one for every single person in your company and have us, and I'm willing to, for free, Zoom in with any company who does this and help and go through, answer any questions, talk through any book club questions, and that's it. It like the $8 billion, take a little chunk out of that, buy this for everybody, and talk about it. Talk about it.
Mhm.
Not a kumbaya. This is not a let's all come together and no divisive. You know, let's
Yes.
see somebody come out of this. Let's see.
Don't put it
Let's
in
see.
a war some way.
What's that?
Okay. That's the challenge. Great.
Good work.
Yeah.
You know, it's internal work. And that's how we change our life. There's no growth without change, and there is no change without pain. So yeah, it's going to be painful. It's going to be hard. Any of us that have had to do inner work, that shit is hard. When I'd go see my therapist, I'd get a vein in my forehead and I'd go, I can't believe I'm paying this woman all this money to make me feel like shit.
I'm going to send you one of those like rock thingies that like you rub on your face to, okay. The challenge is buy a book for everybody. And I might even just say like, instead of buying people one more water bottle that I can guarantee do not need another water bottle or a coffee tumbler. Just take that $15, $16, $20, buy the books, make it happen. I'm committed to it. I'm going to buy one for all of my clients and customers and friends this year. Thank you both so much for coming back to talk about your book. It is an absolute must read, I think, for really any human being, but I think in particular for women as we navigate like messy relationships with horrible power dynamics, it feels even more important.
Thank you, Aparna. Seriously, thank you for the support.
Yeah. So if you want a copy,
yes. I
put your yeah. Yeah. So anybody who wants a book, please leave your name and your email ID, and we'll get in touch with you. And they get shipped out in November, so that's when you'll get them. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Oh, you know, we should probably talk about bye.
Bye.
I was going to say we're doing a book event at Tattered Cover on Colfax in Denver. And then we're doing one at the Boulder Bookstore on November 3rd. And Saira, we've got another one, don't we, in DC?
We've got a bunch. It's all on I know we've got to go. So it's all on our website and it's all over our social media. So just follow us.
Love it. Done and done.
Thank you.
Thanks both.
Thank you. Okay.